Okay, good afternoon. My name is Felix Angel Popescu. I'm an assistant professor at Agora University of Oradea in Romania. I am also a postdoctoral fellow in economics at the Public State University of Oradea. And this video will be about entrepreneurship, namely entrepreneurial education, which is perceived from different perspectives. And the aim of the video will be to deliver the idea if schools really produce entrepreneurs, and if it generates business creativity, and at the later part of the video we will also talk about financing entrepreneurship activities across the world. Now, in order to start, I can say that when I've done my pedagogical training to become a teacher, I did some lectures of entrepreneurial education at the gymnasium schools and high schools in the city of Oradea, Romania, and my conclusion was that there are all kind of expectations from entrepreneurial education. Why? Because it has evolved more and more from this gymnasium or high school discipline that is part of the national curriculums across the world, towards faculty curriculums. Entrepreneurial education is nowadays included in bachelor, master, or even PhD academic tracks. And let's put it this way: my way of thinking on how entrepreneurship could affect business creativity is that if medicine creates its devoted doctors, if engineering deliver skilled engineers, if pedagogy gives very good professors, why should not entrepreneurial education produce creative entrepreneurs? The answer would be that there are a lot of uncertainties in a pupil's or a student's mind, and when we think about starting a business, the financial sector could be a serious problem, but it could be coped with a bank loan or a money loan from parents or relatives or friends, or maybe a non-refundable grant given by the local authorities or the community authorities like the European Union. But it takes also skills, talent, and determination. Such prerequisites that it is thought that the school should deliver. Now, as to have an introductory feeling about entrepreneurship, it is a good fact that pupils learn from an early age that economy has been a basic activity of human society since antiquity. The exchange of products, when the notion of money was not known, has been the basic activity of entrepreneurship in the past. Pupils acknowledge that people's economic activity has become increasingly intense since then, since the appearance of money. it became more complex and indispensable, and it evolved from basic business or basic trades with products and services towards forms of newer forms of economic activities. Now, maybe what people don't realize at the gymnasium level when they are 13, 14 years old is that the economy is a key factor in society around which a person's entire activity revolves, even their parents, relatives, friends' activity. From here, it could be concluded that each pupil needs to learn, to adapt and develop in an economic environment in a continuous evolution. In response to this need, the concept of entrepreneurship appears, from which the entrepreneurial education will be developed later at high school or university level, bringing new concepts such as entrepreneurial environment, entrepreneurial mindset, or entrepreneurial spirit. Now, for a more detailed picture of what entrepreneurial education means, we need to know the context in which it appeared, how it influences the development of society, but also the factors that influenced it. One of these factors is the economy, which is a basic pawn of today's society. The economy is a factor that influences a person's life since childhood, we can say. This denotes the importance of introducing economics into education system for a better understanding of the economic environment. Thus, the broader concept of economic education will create the necessary conditions for young people to value money and to value their work, and the need to responsibly manage every money earned. Now I will talk about some conceptual delimitations of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial education. This concept consists of two terms: education, which in the current context represents a fundamental societal phenomenon of transmitting the life experience of adult generations and culture to generations of children and young people, facilitating them to integrate into society. And then is the entrepreneurship term, which is defined as the ability and desire to develop, to organize and manage a business, whatever the risk, in order to make a profit. Well, by analyzing these definitions, it can be stated that entrepreneurial education represents a socio-economic phenomenon of transmitting the knowledge and experiences of organizing and developing a business in order to stimulate the entrepreneurial sense of new generation. Entrepreneurial education must be seen as a form of early education introduced in the education system at the gymnasium level, destined to acquaint the children with the basic economic notions and what means healthy economic behavior, because at this stage of their development they learn basic subjects like mathematics, literature, biology, geography, history, and so on, but we could not neglect the economic side of education. UNESCO declares this type of education as a new one, which helps students to understand the problems of the society in which they live, to evaluate the consequences of the decision they make, and to identify solutions. Economic education, along with entrepreneurial and civic education, is a modern educational dimension that will influence the development of the entrepreneurial environment and at the same time of future civil societies. At the same time, this educational approach will lead to a personal development from a professional point of view for young people and will prepare them to enter the labor markets. Now I will I will focus on the beginnings of entrepreneurial education because it will give you a more interesting facet of this recent young education sector. Now, despite the fact it could be thought that entrepreneurship is a new theoretical idea, the concept was mentioned for the first time in 1755 by the French economist Richard Cantillon in his paper Essai sur la nature du commerce en général. The concept was not widely understood at that time, but in 1911 Joseph Schumpeter clarified it in his paper The Theory of Economic Development, where he argued that in entrepreneurship there is an understanding that we make for a particular type of conduct that includes initiative, organization, and reorganization of the socio-economic mechanism, as well as the acceptance of risk and failure. Peter Drucker took the concept further, and in 1985, in his paper Innovation and the Entrepreneurial System, stressed out the importance of entrepreneurship in the context of innovation. Now, when it comes to academic interferences with the discipline of entrepreneurship, it is noteworthy to point that Shigeru Fiji taught the first entrepreneurship course at the University of Kobe in 1938. The concept was continued by Harvard University, which launched in 1945 a series of courses dedicated to entrepreneurship. Then, in the 1980s, there were more than 300 universities worldwide that included entrepreneurship courses in their educational programs. And after the appearance of the first course in 1945, the idea of entrepreneurial training developed more and more in the United States of America, which led to a spread of entrepreneurial education in American universities. In Europe, the development of entrepreneurial education came much later. It was not until the 1970s that the first actions for its adoption were registered. In 1975, the first meeting of the Small Business Management Education Association took place in the United Kingdom, during which a group of academics interested in stimulating small businesses met. The first entrepreneurship course on the European continent appeared in France in 1978, which talked about business creation. Then, in the 1990s, their members rose to more than 1,000. There was an explosion of entrepreneurship formal or informal education offers from the years 2000 until present, consisting of more than 2,000 entrepreneurship courses, 300 positions of teachers and researchers in these fields, as well as over 100 research centers focused on entrepreneurship, only in the United States of America. For former communist countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, and so on, the concept of entrepreneurial education was introduced in the education system much more later, beginning with the year 2000 and maybe a fraction of 3, 4, 5 years later. Well, at present, there is still a gap between the USA, the United States, and Europe, because the concept of entrepreneurship education is not yet as widespread in Europe. In the United States of America, the education system is much more flexible because it has many private institutions. And there is another trick. The American entrepreneurs are much more used to seek external advice and training when required. At European level, these systems are much more rigid because entrepreneurship education institutions are mainly from the public system, so the regulations in the system must be made at national level. Now, in an international context, in a broad sense, entrepreneurial education can be considered a support mechanism for entrepreneurship. The term was first used in the United Kingdom, which defined it in the sense of focusing more on specific contents for creating associations and encouraging young people to become freelancers or entrepreneurs. In this country, there is a clear difference between the term entrepreneurial education and that of enterprise education, which refers to personal development, the improvement of personal skills and abilities. Unlike the United Kingdom, in the United States of America, the concept of entrepreneurial education includes both the part based on entrepreneurship and the part focused on stimulating the entrepreneurial environment and the business development. So there are quite a contradiction between the United Kingdom and the United States of America. Very relevant, for example, is the situation of Finland. Here the terms used are internal entrepreneurial education, which is the equivalent of enterprise education, and external entrepreneurial education, which is synonymous with formal or non-formal related education. Now, regardless of the term used, the purpose of entrepreneurial education is to teach young people, including both pupils at the gymnasium and high school level or students at faculty level, to turn their ideas and opportunities into concrete actions that represent a value for the community to which they belong. A definition to support this idea was formulated by the Danish Foundation for Entrepreneurship, according to which the content, methods and activities that support the creation of knowledge, skills and experiences offer students the opportunity to be initiated and participate in the value process of entrepreneurial education. The phenomenon of entrepreneurial education began to gain momentum in the later part of the 20th century, more precisely in the 1990s, because during this period, countries such as England, Germany, France, South Korea, Brazil, Denmark and the Netherlands introduced entrepreneurial education programs at the level of university studies. In the following years, countries such as the Czech Republic, Poland and Hungary introduced entrepreneurial education in universities. Now, currently in the European Union, entrepreneurial education is strongly promoted. For example, in 2011, 8 European countries launched strategies to promote this kind of education, and another 13 countries, including Austria, Hungary, Slovakia, Spain, Greece, Bulgaria and Finland, have included it in their national long-term learning strategies. In 2015, according to the European Commission, only 9 of the 28, nowadays 27, member states did not have a national strategy on entrepreneurial education, which is a small number. We've seen until here that entrepreneurial education began to be sensed worldwide, and it became to make influences on the society. Why is that? Because globally there are different stages of development of states, of regions. There are different cultures or needs adapted to each region. There is a wide range of specific objectives on entrepreneurship education that are in line with the strategies adopted by each state. However, there are a number of generally valid objectives of entrepreneurial education, no matter where it is applied. This kind of objectives are the awareness of entrepreneurial education, the diversification, developing individual skills, and strengthening entrepreneurial behavior. Along with these four objectives, many more can appear because the area of application of entrepreneurial education is a wide one, and depending on the strategies pursued per each state, other objectives could be set. Thus, the European Union attaches great importance to the development of personal skills through the Lisbon strategies adopted in 2000. The European Union identified 5 skills needed to have basic knowledge in the economic field. The 5 competencies are the information and communication technology skills, the communication in foreign languages, the social skills, the entrepreneurial skills, and the cultural skills. So entrepreneurial education is the solution for acquiring a set of skills among 5, namely the entrepreneurship. From the context presented above, it can be deduced that the main objective of this form of education is to help people, especially young people, to develop a series of entrepreneurial skills that, along with those acquired in other fields, will help them in professional development, including social and active citizenship. Subsequently, in addition to the 5 core competencies identified above, the European Union presents 3 other key competencies, namely the communication skill in the mother tongue, the mathematical skills, and basic skills in science and technology, and the last skill is the ability to learn. This is the most important one, because if you don't have in my opinion, if you don't have the ability to learn from an early stage, you will have to lose and you will have to suffer later in high school, in faculty, because there are certain professional sectors where the ability to learn is needed on a day-to-day basis, like medics, like engineers, like professors. You always have to be like lawyers, judges, and other types of professions in the legal sciences, and public civil servants sectors, where you have to know all the new laws that are in order in your national state where you work, in your local community where you work. So indeed, the ability to learn could be above all these skills, and the ability to learn in entrepreneurship is also needed on a day-to-day basis. The 8 competencies were set out by the European Parliament for lifelong learning, and we will talk about this as prerequisites and skills for entrepreneurial education, because they transpose in this set of prerequisites. And the first one would be stimulating entrepreneurial thinking. That is a priority all over the world. Why? Because it is an engine of the well-being of people and communities, because mentalities are formed from an early stage. So through the contribution of several entrepreneurial education programs in public-private partnership involving educational institutions, companies, teachers, students, and families in the educational process, young people are prepared for real life by teaching them how to start and run profitable business, and how to create jobs for themselves and for their friends and other people, adding value to the communities in which they live. Now, although it is necessary to both for those who set up a startup company and for those who already have a business and develop it, entrepreneurial education is also for the category of people unrelated to business. Social entrepreneurs who run a non-governmental organization, research entrepreneurs who run laboratories or scientific research projects, and then there are political, cultural, artistic entrepreneurs, and so on. As can be seen, entrepreneurial education is a mechanism adapted to both the period and the needs, and this makes this type of education very important because it responds to the needs and requirements that arise at the time. That is why these differences occur internationally, and the formal elements are related to entrepreneurial education in school, high school, college, or complementary formal entrepreneurship education programs, and the informal ones are required in their own entrepreneurial activity or by reading books or other specialized materials or entrepreneurship. The main skill that an entrepreneur must have is the ability to implement his or her own ideas. In order to develop this capacity, the entrepreneur must have or develop a series of secondary skills such as creativity, incisiveness, risk-taking capacity, efficient resource management capacity, planning, but also the capacity for analysis and evaluation. Another important skill that an entrepreneur must have is to identify the opportunity to develop business or professional activities. Last but not least, an entrepreneur must have the ability to implement and develop projects, because it is not enough to put ideas into practice if you do not succeed in developing them. Depending on the field in which an entrepreneur works, he or she will need a series of complementary skills and abilities such as market relations, management capabilities, marketing and administration knowledge, managerial knowledge, the ability to manage relationship with staff and employees, relationship capabilities with external actors. The effects of entrepreneurial education shown by scientific literature can be summed up like this. Some researchers in entrepreneurial economics have shown through studies that entrepreneurship is a successful component of sustainable development, being a multidimensional phenomenon with a positive impact on economic growth, and entrepreneurship education is an important part of a successful knowledge-based society. But what exactly are the effects that entrepreneurial education has on the society in which it is introduced? Well, the main reason why entrepreneurial education is promoted is due to the fact that entrepreneurship is seen as an important source for economic growth, but also for the creation of new jobs. In addition to the economic effects, the focus is on the possible effects of entrepreneurial activity on students and employees. In this way, they become aware of the relevance of motivation and commitment in both education and professional life. Now, another effect generated by entrepreneurial education is to encourage young people to get involved in social entrepreneurship. This could be the easiest way, because the interest of young people to get involved in solving societal challenges is high worldwide, which denotes a projective evolution of this kind of education in this content. Following studies conducted by several researchers, like the European Commission, It has been found that entrepreneurship education helps to increase motivation and school involvement. It alleviates problems related to boredom and school dropouts. Now, it cannot be clearly stated that this is due to entrepreneurial education, but it can be stated that graduates who have studied entrepreneurship education have a higher inclination to act entrepreneurially. Now, over time, studies have been done on how entrepreneurial education has developed and been implemented. Some of them highlight the impact that entrepreneurship has on United States and America and Korea. The results of the study show that entrepreneurship itself is a phenomenon that has spread globally. Other researchers emphasize the key role that entrepreneurial education plays in vocational training, so the advantages it brings over traditional methods of employee training. Other researchers compare students' attitudes toward entrepreneurship at universities that teach economics and business administration. The results of such studies show that entrepreneurship education models in the European universities were very different from those from United States of American universities. Due to different approach, entrepreneurial initiatives among students were much more lower than in European universities than in American universities. The approach of universities in entrepreneurship education can be very different from case to case, as we have seen. Of course, these differences are in the international context because at the national level, the differences are diminished by the regulation of the national educational systems. On one hand, there are three aspects of entrepreneurship education that have to be taken into consideration: the recognition of opportunities, the entrepreneurial motivation, and the marketing development. If you don't have these, we cannot talk about specific education. On the other hand, entrepreneurial courses which prepare students for their future careers must be taught by entrepreneurs with experience in this field. As a conclusion of this first part, entrepreneurial education aims to strengthen the skills, the motivation specific to achieving success, and currently this type of education is offered in a variety of forms at all levels of schooling, from gymnasium to university programs, and pupils or students can be stimulated to form an entrepreneurial thinking, which will help them in the future to be independent and innovative, to take risks, to accept challenges, and to look for creative solutions, regardless the fact that they will launch a business or they will just get hired at a company. For some of them, the size of entrepreneurship educations will just remain an optional issue. The young-aged people understanding of entrepreneurial activity is often subject to misunderstandings or distortions. Two myths would raise issues first that needs to be combated. The one is that the entrepreneurial spirit is born, not acquired, which is false, and that entrepreneurship is mainly about luck. It is also false. It can also be concluded that the manifestation of entrepreneurship can have many facets, but that it is always about openness to what is happening in society, in the economic environment, the ability to easily grasp existing opportunities and the ability to make decisions.